Hey, this is Dave with Rough Notes Magazine. We're all about helping agents and brokers thrive, and we're impressed with what you're doing. Can we feature you and your team on our front cover?
Bradley, tell me the feeling you had when you first heard that you were going to be on the front cover of Rough Notes magazine.
So the first feeling I had was this is going to be really cool for my team. One thing I've always loved about the Rough Notes covers is they always sort of incorporate the team. And I just remember, my team doesn't really get involved in the stuff I do in insurance land, in the industry
Mm,
outside of the agency.
yeah.
And I thought it would be really cool for them to be involved in that. And I'm sure most of them have never been on the cover inside of a magazine. So that was my first thought, is just like, oh, this will be awesome for them.
Kind of having a similar persona of this influencer thing they call us. That is so true. Like our teams don't get they live in they do what they're supposed to do there, right? And they go home and they have their own lives. And you and I are just kind of
Yeah.
consumed inside the industry. That's a really, really good point. That really is a great point. I think a lot of people know things about you, Bradley. I really think they do. But I don't normally do this either. I'm doing this with you. I don't think people have went back. Like what is your backstory, dude? Tell me how you got to Portal Insurance.
Yeah. So I got into the industry in 2011, which was a lot longer ago than it feels like. Um, and I was working at a cell phone store selling, like, remember those Nextel beep beep radios?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a competitor to that, and it was a horrible product. And it appealed to their target market were farmers. If you can imagine selling technology to farmers in a
Wow.
town of 8,000 people, and the technology wasn't good. And a buddy of mine came by the office one day and was just hanging out. And this was a college job. I was going to college to be a teacher. And the reason I wanted to be a teacher is I got the summers off to play golf. Not the best reason to be a teacher. And uh,
You wanted to be a
I
special
was
education teacher, if I'm right.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And so I had an aunt that was special needs. That was kind of where my heart was.
Okay.
And so he saw me like sell unit after unit, and he was like, dude, if you could do this, you could sell insurance. And it was life insurance. And I remember my grandfather died pretty young when I was, but I was young too, but I was old enough to remember it. And I remember conversations happening um, between my parents and my grandmother, like that he had life insurance, and this life insurance really took care of my grandmother, and she's in a really good financial position now, I believe, because of a lot of investing the life insurance money and things like that. And the company he worked for was the same company my grandfather had life insurance at.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, cool, yeah, let me give this a shot. So I started that part time, and I loved feeling just like a professional. Like I loved that it was white collar and serious conversations, and I could dress up and things like that. And I come from a very blue collar family. My dad was an electrician. My grandfathers on both sides were barbers, competing barbers, which is
Wow.
ironic. Which is
Wow.
ironic when you consider my relationship with me and my wife. Me and my wife run competing agencies.
Wow, that is
Um,
true, yeah.
and so I like that, and so I did really well doing. It was your typical like MLM life insurance type stuff. I did that for 6 months, and I made more money in the first 6 months than a teacher would make in a year at that time. And I was sitting in class, and I was like, why am I doing this if you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if the reason I'm doing this is because I get free time, like I could just sell insurance and get as much free time as I want and make the same amount of money. So I quit college, dropped out, and started doing insurance full time. And then pretty quickly realized that property and casualty was where I wanted to be. And I think they talked about this in the article. Our office now, we have a 8-story balcony that overlooks the skyline of the city, and I love to take new recruits up there and say every building and everything with wheels you can see as far as you can see is insured. And so like with property and casualty, like almost every person you and I come into contact with 365 days a year is going to buy property and casualty insurance this year.
100.
But not all of them are going to buy life and health insurance. So I did that about a year, and then I went to work for State Farm or a State Farm agent because I wanted to learn PNC. And I tell this story. So I was making like 80, 90K, I think, or was on track to at the life insurance company. I took a property and casualty job with this agent, and my salary was $15,000.
Holy crap.
Now I know this is a long time ago, but this was 2012. Like this, it wasn't, and I had a kid on the way. But the way I looked at it is, hey, this is going to be a sabbatical. It's an internship. I'm paying my dues to learn property and casualty. So, and sometimes like I talk about this to like young kids, like we just had an intern that ended his internship with us to actually go start a YouTube channel, talk about 2026 problems. He quit his job to start a YouTube channel. But I had this conversation with him. I'm like, look, man, don't chase money, chase opportunity. And, the people who are constantly chasing money end up making less money than the people that chase opportunity.
Well said.
But chasing opportunity sometimes requires going backwards to go forwards. And, the further you pull a slingshot back, the further it goes. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for a year. I made more than $15,000 because I had commission, but I did that for a year. And then I went to work for another captive company in Alabama. I worked there for 6.5 years, really taught me how to be an agency owner, even though I wasn't an agency owner. Fast forward, I'm telling the long version of the story, but
that's fine. Most people don't know this, dude.
Yeah. So fast forward, probably 2015, 2016-ish. I was really getting into social media, and I listened to your podcast. And ironically, the first guest you ever had on your main podcast was from Alabama.
Oh, wow.
And I listened to your podcast. It's kind of diving into the world of social media. And I reached out to Gary Vee, and I was like, hey, this was the first time I talked to him. I was like, hey, like, how do I like position myself as an authority, social media world? And this is on Snapchat. And he texted back and he said, reach out to industry publications in your industry and offer to write a piece for them on what you're doing with social media. This was new enough when if you had somebody making traction on social media, it was like, oh, this person's doing something different,
Yeah.
And so I reached out to lifehealthpro.com. I wrote an article about how I was using Snapchat to sell insurance. And I write this piece, or I was getting ready to write this piece, and a buddy of mine who is very money motivated said, man, I wouldn't give away your secrets for free. I would ask for $500. I'm like, yeah, you've got a point, because I was broke at the time. And so I actually typed the email out asking for the $500. Mind you, this is after I'd asked them to let me write the article. They would have said no. And so I write at the last minute, I was like, nah, I'm going to give them the first hit for free, And so I write the article. That article gets the attention of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal calls me, and they are doing a piece on insurance agents and financial advisors using, quote, alternative forms of advertising. Alternative being social media, right? Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think about this now. And so I'm on this call with this lady from the Wall Street Journal. Her name was Daisy Maxey. The article never published, by the way. But I'm on this call with her, and I was like, let me ask you a question. How many people do you guys have using Snapchat? She said, as far as tongue-in-cheek, she said this, as far as the Wall Street Journal is concerned, you're the number one insurance agent on Snapchat. And I immediately put that in my social media bio.
Hell yes, you should have.
Yeah. And so anyway, I put that in there. That got the attention of Scott Howell. Scott Howell sees that, adds me on Snapchat. We start talking. He's in Alabama. I'm in Alabama. I'm located at the beach, or I'm near the beach, and so he's going to be vacationing down at the beach. He comes, he comes down to my office. He's like, "Hey, do you want to like?" He was doing content too at the time. He had a YouTube show called Ask the Insurance Guy, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to be on my show?" And this was like now, like it's not unheard of for somebody to be like, "Hey, I want to come to your office and let's shoot content." But back then, this was like, "Oh, this is cool." Like somebody
Yeah,
else that kind of gets it, right?
totally.
And it's still kind of like that now. Like if I'm in New York City and me and you are vlogging, like nobody thinks of it. But if you do that in Mobile, Alabama, people are like, this is kind of weird. So we go to my office and we do this YouTube show, which is still on YouTube, by the way. And we realized we had a really good energy and chemistry. We get off as soon as he stopped recording, he goes, "Man, we should do a podcast." And at the time, the podcast realm was the only piece of social media that I hadn't done. And there was still a pretty big barrier to entry
Mm-hmm.
back then. Like
Back
now we're
then,
recording this on Riverside, everybody's on Zoom. You couldn't do it easily back then.
no.
And so I told him, I said, if you pay for it, I'll do it. So he did. And we started the podcast. Through the podcast, we were both captive at the time. And there's this nature of not wanting to share your secrets on the captive side. I think a little bit of that is because it's so competitive with the other agents that work for the company you work with. And then also you're also scared of what Big Brother might think of what you're doing. So you tend to get a little bit of watered down advice. And so naturally we gravitated towards independent because in the independent world, like we all share, like it's, an abundance mindset. So we started interviewing independent agents like Chris Paradiso, Matt Namoli, Troy Korsgaden, a lot of these like big, I'm trying to think of some of the first guests, Michael McCormick, like all these folks on the independent side. And we got invited to Chris Paradiso's office. I actually subscribed to Rough Notes for the first time sitting in Chris Paradiso's office.
Wow.
And not being independent at the time, I thought I was getting like, this is like some kind of secret club. You know what I mean? I remember the first Rough Notes magazine I got in the mail. It was Seth Zaremba
Oh, wow.
was on the cover. And so anyway, he was wearing these like green shoes, neon colored shoes, rightfully so. Anyway, so we essentially for like a year and a half got an MBA in how to run an independent agency. And that inspired me to start Portal because there was a lot of things I was learning through the podcast and meeting all these great people that I couldn't use on the captive side. I would try it and I would get hit with the corporate red tape or, yeah, we can do that, but it's going to be an 18-month rollout and all this kind of stuff. And so I quit my job in January of so in December of 18, me and my wife, we try to do this once a year. We rent a cabin in the woods and just do business planning. It's a tax deductible vacation. And we met up for lunch and I was like, I think I need to open an independent agency. Like I'm not happy. And she said, okay, well go back on Monday and quit your job. She's like so supportive, just like I got you,
Awesome.
which is great. She's my secret weapon, a supportive
Mhm.
spouse. But I said, well, I'm not going to do it on Monday. I'm going to do it on January the 8th because they pay me on the 7th and I got a big commission check coming and I'm going to need as much money as I need.
Classic
And so,
salesperson.
yeah. So I quit on January the 8th. And, and it also, the timing was good too, because there was this, I remember my manager at the time years before said, when somebody quits, you fire them. You don't let them work 2 weeks. And so I knew they were going to fire me when I quit if I tried to do it 2 weeks. And so I was like, I'm going to clean and I didn't want to be fired because there was this thing at the company at the time where a successful agent would actually quit and they would spread the rumor that they got fired. So to scare other people, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I did not want to be fired. So I actually posted on Instagram before I quit. As I'm walking into my manager's office, I posted on
Oh, wow.
Instagram. I
Great
cleaned
idea.
my office out the night before. And I did it strategically that night too, not only because I got paid, but Alabama was playing Clemson in the national championship, and I knew nobody would be at the office, which was true. And Alabama got blown out, so it was a great night. And that was not sarcastic.
No, it
And
wasn't.
So that's what led to Portal. And what's crazy is, man, if you circle back to the $500 thing, like that was like the catalyst for all of this. Had I sent that email, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's the
great.
long story, but
No.
that's sort of what led us to
The
here.
Portal. You
Yeah.
know, one thing that you stipulated, which I do just want to stay, and this is kind of, it doesn't matter in this, but it does. People say, Jason, you have helped so many people with your podcast. And what I say all the time is, no, you have no idea how much you've helped me. Like
Yeah,
sitting there
100%.
doing all these interviews, Bradley, we get to hear so many people's failures and successes, and we can match it against our own. It's been phenomenal. So that's great.
It was totally, in the beginning, it was totally selfish. Like if
Mhm.
you look at the first 50 guests, it was nothing to do with helping the industry. One, because we didn't think anybody would listen to it. It was like, okay, if I'm going to spend time doing this, I'm going to interview people that I want to get close to.
That's right.
And it's actually a great strategy for people in their local community, for insurance
Yes.
agents. Like start a podcast, especially if you're in commercial, literally interview your prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you call somebody and say, hey, I want a shot at your insurance, they may or may not say yes. If you call them and say, hey, I want to have you on this podcast, you're going to get like 90% saying yes.
Yep.
And so that was what it was. Is it was just like, hey, I want to learn from this guy. I want to learn from this gal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did. And
That's
you
great.
know, it worked. And that's why I'll like always, like the podcast is like the thing that I do now that probably is the most annoying, that I don't love doing it, but it benefits the agency in so many ways
Mm-hmm.
that that I continue to do it. You know, it gets us in rooms that we don't deserve to be in. You know, like I got to go to Lloyd's Americas and sit in a meeting right next to the CEO of Lloyd's Americas, Hank Watkins, and like all these other places, and all that's because of the podcast. It's not because of Portal. And then you get like, you know, access to technology and things like that. And even like this Rough Notes cover, like I'm glad that this is happening our 7th year in business and not our 3rd, because it wasn't because of the podcast. And everybody that knows Dave, like Dave's going to do his research
He does.
on you.
He does.
In fact, I had heard a rumor that they were considering us for the cover a year ago. So he did a year of due diligence before,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
He's really good.
And it's, you know, one thing that I love about Rough Notes, and Dave and I talked about this, is so we're very with our podcast, we are very restrictive with our guests. Like we're not just going to have anybody on who's got something cool to say. Like I'm going to make sure you're legitimate. And I think Rough Notes does the same thing with the cover. Like if somebody's on the cover of Rough Notes, like you know that they're legit.
They are. That's true. That is true. So before we get into a little bit more about Portal, because this is great. A couple things I found online. They did say the Wall Street Journal had called him the #1 insurance agent on Snapchat. I thought that was funny. I did not know. I know a lot of your backstory, but I did not know that. I also did not know that you wanted to become a special education teacher. I knew you had mentioned teacher in the past. I did not realize that. I thought that was cool. The meme that put you on the map was your first viral video on memory. It says, most interesting man in the world, with the line, I don't always buy life insurance, but when I do, I buy it from Bradley Flowers. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I would do all these like stupid memes back this was back when like creating a meme was like good content, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
And you know what's funny is that the first post I did that caught traction was so I think I talked to a lot of agents about creating content and putting themselves out there. And a lot of people have this internal self-conscious, like, I don't know what the exact word is, but they're self-conscious about what people think about them. Usually it's other insurance agents. And so I did this post, and I had that, still have it a little bit. I did this post where it's timely, because this is May the 7th, we're recording this. I did this post with a taco on my head. and it was on Cinco de Mayo, and it said, "We need to talk about your insurance." And another insurance agent called me and he said, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You are watering down our profession," and just like ripped me into it, right?
Yep.
And the following Saturday or Sunday, I was at the office working by myself and I wanted to order a pizza. And I called the local Domino's, which is the best pizza in the world. And I ordered the pizza and I gave him my name and he said, "Oh, you're the we need to talk about your insurance guy." That was funny. And I was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is kind of working, getting attention. And also, this guy who chastised me is never going to buy insurance from me ever because he's also an insurance agent. Why do I care what he thinks?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should only care about what the person you're trying to reach thinks. You know what I mean? So that was actually the first one that I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. And I just went like head first into creating memes and then transitioned to video. And like, that was how I got my name out there. And up until January of 2020, every single piece of content before that was created by me and only me. There was no graphic designers. I have no skills in that. I just figured it out, you know, and especially now with like AI, it's so easy to do stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, we were like, when Canva came out, that was like a godsend to me. I was like, oh my gosh, it actually makes me look good. You're a serious golfer. You mentioned that before. It does also point out here, he doesn't actually like, it does say something here about your golfing thing. It says he once had 22 putts across 18 holes while looking
Where are you finding this at?
While looking at the hole during the stroke instead of the ball. He wanted to be a teacher because golf loves summers off. Dude, Claude's unbelievable.
Oh, Claude.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I have never done research on any of my podcasts. It's something I pride myself on. And since I've been on
kind of
Claude,
have that Larry King thing where you don't know anything about him.
I like that, but I have to tell you, I'm just telling you this personally for my other podcasts. I have people who reach out and go, "Cash, your podcasts are getting better." And it's all because in the last 30 or 40, I start reviewing all this stuff and I'm finding out stuff. I thought this also was a cool one. I don't know what this is. He has a Funko Pop of himself.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do, if you remember, Matt and Zach did the bobbleheads.
Oh, yeah.
So what we do instead of bobbleheads is we do Funko Pops. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
They're a little bit cheaper than the bobbleheads and they get, they're made faster. So this is mine right here.
Oh, okay.
But so for all of our referral partners and some clients, we get a Funko Pop made of them. And what's cool about these are teenagers love these. They're like collectible. So when the referral partner gets one, they're like, "Oh, that's cute." Da, da, da. And their kids are like, "Oh my gosh, you have a Funko Pop of yourself," you know, and they're like $20.
So the kids help sell how awesome it is and then solidifies the fact that you're doing it. I love that.
Yeah. But the golf thing, let me address the golf thing. I don't golf anymore. I'm not your traditional insurance agent that golfs. I haven't actually played golf in 6 years. I just don't have time. I do play VR golf at night on the Oculus.
Oh, wow.
Humble brag. I actually made it up to number 2 in the world in VR golf.
You still
like
play
2
that?
million people every night. That's the last thing I do before I go to bed. Is I go on there and I just whip somebody's butt on VR golf.
Wow.
And it's actually the only video game that I've ever played that is very, very close to the real thing. Like it's pretty accurate. So that like takes care of my golfing itch and I save 4 hours not going to the golf course.
Wow.
So
that's really
I'm not
cool.
number 2 in the world anymore. I'm like 200, but I did make it up to number 2. But the gap between me and the number 1 was like, I would have had to quit my job and like do it all, you know. I was like, okay, it's not gonna happen.
Before we get into Portal, I want to keep saying these. I thought these were interesting. You went to the White House in 2025. I thought that was cool, representing the Big I, which I thought was cool. Yep. Your dog is on the team page, Milo.
That's not my dog. That's one of our team members' dogs. Yeah, he's
Okay.
the director of public relations.
Public relations. I thought that was really, really cool. Basically, you and the wife are in insurance. You mentioned that, which I thought was good. You've got an acquisition trail. You want to talk about that a little bit, like the acquisitions you've made, any that you blew up
Yeah.
and ruined or did great on?
Yeah, we so I've done 4 technically. I did 2 on the captive side and I've done 2 on the independent side. I've probably looked at 400 agency 2 to 400 agencies, somewhere in there. I don't keep count. I love doing M&A. Um, we my ethos behind that is, so I love looking at companies that are more successful than me, and this works in any industry. Like, look at companies that are more successful than you and see what they're doing and figure out your version of that, right? Like, there's a reason they do certain things. Um, and a couple years ago, I looked at the top 100 agencies in the country, and my analysis of them were that most of them, actually almost all of them, got big by acquisitions, but they weren't really great at organic growth. They grow organically,
Mm-hmm.
but they really grow through osmosis. Like, they get so big that they get new business just by being so big, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were always really good and are good at organic growth. So I'm like, wait a minute, if we can acquire and be good at organic
Bam,
growth, we
bam. Good
really
call.
can compound this. And then, like, for example, so we did actually an analysis of the top 100 agencies last year. 99 out of 100 were acquisition shops. There was only one that grew organically.
Wow.
1 out of 100. And we interviewed that person on the podcast, actually, because I was like, I want to know what you're doing. So we started doing acquisitions. We did our first big one in 2024. We doubled overnight, which was challenging. We
Yep.
did another one last year, about this time last year. We did another one. One of my best friends in the industry that I helped him start the agency a little bit. It was a great. He operated very similar to us. We've slowed down a little bit on that just because of the market softening. Like, I think it's a really bad time to buy an agency right now because rates are coming down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the equivalent of buying a stock at its absolute peak. And I've even talked to some folks who do M&A at big shops, and all of them are saying, yeah, we're just sitting back and waiting, and we're going to be able to get stuff a lot cheaper than we would if we bought it now. And so but I love M&A. Like, if I could do nothing all day long every day, it would be
Well,
analyzing deals and getting the P&Ls and all that sort of stuff.
one of the other things is you keep giving back on, and not giving back, but you're giving your time here for a fee. What's this paid course Under the Hood workshop? And once again, Rough Notes listeners, I know a lot of this stuff, right? But I don't think
Yeah.
you do, and that's why I want to get this from him.
Yeah, so it actually kind of goes back to what you said earlier about getting our teams involved in industry stuff. So in 2024, I've always done like speaking and stuff like that. Sorry, my camera's blurring out. I've always done like public speaking at like state associations. I like doing that because it's a good way to give back to the industry. It's a good way to learn stuff yourself, good way to meet people, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I actually don't like speaking, the actual physical act of speaking, but I like what I get from it. And so 2024, I decided I wanted to take a break from just being on the road. Like, in 2023, I think I traveled 18 times in 2023. That's like getting on the airplane and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I just want to take a break and just be home for a bit. Portal was kind of at a very transitional point, but I needed a way to keep my speaking chops sharp, right? And you also have stuff you want to get off your chest too,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
And so, because like with me, like, I'm not a natural public speaker. Like, I have to keep the muscle, keep working the muscle. And so, combined with my team wanted to get more involved in what I do in the industry. So I said, okay, what if we did a workshop at our office where people come in. We just do like 5 people, and we basically just like take them through how we do things, and then also like do some analysis of their businesses and things like that, and help them. And the first one we did, we gave all the money to charity, and even the ones we've done after, I think we've done 5 total, have been you know my margin on it is honestly not worth the time, but it's kind of a fun thing to do and meet agents, show them the city and things like that. And so it's a nice little 2 days that we have them here. And so that's worked great. We're going to do, I think we're
That's
just
really
going to do
cool.
one this year. We're going to do it late in the year. But what we did is, I'm always about like, I've been the guy that wanted to do the thing, but didn't have any money, right? Whatever that may be. And so we charge $2,500 for the workshop. We also pay for their hotel. So we pay for everything but their flight. So it's like, you just have to get here. We pay for your food. We pay for your hotel. You're not gonna have to spend any money while you're here, right? But what we did is, the first 2 or 3 that we did, we actually recorded them. So we put that into an online version of the workshop. And so like now when people go, we charge $500 for the online version. So if
Gotcha.
that young agent comes in, doesn't have $2,500, they might have 500. It allows them to do the workshop without coming here. And I know people have stuff and you have kids and it's hard to leave. But then what we also do is, the people that buy the $500 workshop, if they ever want to attend an in person, we discount that ticket by what they paid for the online. So it's just a neat
Gotcha.
little thing that it's a, our like, one of our missions at Portal is to effectively change the way independent agencies operate. We have a banner in our office that says, "We're not here to do what's already been done." I think too many times in this industry, we fall into "this is the way we've always done it" mentality. And the workshop is an opportunity for us to impact that in a positive way.
What's Portal Pure? Personalized, unexpected, real, and extraordinary. What is that?
Yeah. So that's kind of a fun story. So several years ago, we started this program where we would send the new client welcome gifts for clients over a certain revenue. The branded box with the koozie and the mug and the T-shirt and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking about it this last year. Um, we we've had exactly 0 customers tell us thank you, because it's kind of like us saying thank you for your money. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And so we decided to rebrand it to Portal Pure, and Pure stands for personalized, unexpected, real, and extraordinary. And in this business, especially when you grow, it's very easy to fall into a trap of being transactional. And what the program is we want our team to dig a little bit deeper with our customers and find something out about them that's personal. And things like kids trying out for football, mom's in the hospital, really loves Led Zeppelin. Like it can be things from serious stuff to just like funny little things. And then what we do is, everybody every week is essentially required to give us one of these ideas. And then what we do is, we send the customer a gift associated with that idea. So we had
Gotcha.
a customer that really loved Led Zeppelin, so we sent him a Led Zeppelin coffee mug. Like, that goes way further
Wow.
than just sending a T-shirt and a thank you note, right?
Wow.
And then what we do in our team meeting, we have a team meeting on Tuesdays. We put everybody's KPIs up there. We put Portal Pure up there. So it's sort of like peer pressures people into giving one. But what happens, a byproduct of that is, not only are our customers super thrilled because they like, hey, wow, these people actually remembered that I like Led Zeppelin, but because we're sort of peer pressuring people into doing it, they're almost like by default building a deeper relationship with the customer because they're looking for these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's been
Mhm.
one of the, we haven't even done it a year now, but it's been one of the best things we've done. And going from the welcome gifts where nobody said thank you, the Portal Pure, almost every single customer that we've sent one to has sent just like an overwhelmingly positive, this has been great. We've had some post on Facebook. Sometimes we pair that with the Funko Pop. And what we're actually doing is all of those responses from the clients, we're compiling those up. And at the end of the year, we're going to put it into like a book and like give that to all of our team members. Like, hey, this is like the impact that you're making.
Love that, dude. Love that.
Yeah.
And it shows that the give and take law of reciprocity works better than the box, right? Because as you said, it's like, well, they're not giving this to us because we're special. They're giving it to us because they think it's for the business. This is, hey,
Yeah.
here's this, and it's actually showing that works. I like that a lot.
Well, I remember when my last son was born, we had somebody sent us a onesie with their logo on it. And my wife was like, I don't want a onesie with another company's logo on it. And I was like, oh, we do that. Like, you know, it's like they, you know, will you have people that wear the t-shirt that you send them? Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you look, you know, peel back the onion layers on it, that's kind of self-serving. Like, hey, I'm sending you this t-shirt and I hope you wear it to Walmart and people see it.
That's right.
Right. And it's like, you know, and it's also a very expensive self-serving thing. So like on the welcome gifts, like we're spending like $30 to $50 for welcome gift. These Portal Pure gifts are like $15 on Amazon,
Right.
but it means way more to the person.
Well said. I love that. What's your team makeup look like? Well, how many people? What do they do? What's their job?
Yeah. So we've got 2 true producers. We have 3 client concierge, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we have 10 people on the service side, and then 2 admin.
Okay.
So the client concierge is a role we developed with the help of Billy Wagner. I'm sure you know Billy Wagner.
Love him.
I went and visited Billy's office last year and was like, hey, I just want to like the same thing people are doing with me with the workshop. Like, I'm going to eat my own dog food. Like, I'm going to go there and I want to learn from somebody better than me. And one of the things we noticed is he had this role called client concierge. And basically the way it worked is when he hires new people, you know, in independent agencies, we're guilty of hiring new people and then just throwing them in a sales role. And we did that a million times. One of the deficiencies we noticed with producers who either didn't work out or weren't super successful is they weren't great on like quoting and finding the right markets and things like that. And so what the client concierge role does is when they come in to the agency, they start in the role of client concierge. Their only job is to quote and sell quote for the producers. So producer gets a lead, producer sends it to them, they quote it, they send it back to producer. The producer says, no, tweak this, change this, try this carrier. So they're getting that feedback loop. And so by the time they're ready to be a salesperson or a producer, they're a ninja at quoting.
Gotcha.
And so not only is there that, but what I love about it is they are helping the producers sell more while they are learning.
Gotcha.
Whereas if you put somebody straight in a sales role, like you're going to miss out on deals.
You are.
And so that's a role we created.
I like
or
that.
we didn't create it. Billy created it and imparted that wisdom on it. And it's been working great.
Okay. Well, fantastic. We're going to wrap up here. Usually I keep these around 20 to 25 minutes, but this has been great.
Sorry, I'm babbling.
No, what's great is we haven't talked like we normally do, but we've talked and learned so much about you and your business and why it's there because of coming from this position. Now, last thing that we're going to end with, and we don't have to do them all, but what we're going to do is we're going to do a rapid fire session. Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah, this is where, here's where it's going to start. I already know the answer to one of these, and it was actually something we were going to talk about, but Mac or PC?
Mac all day long.
You are an Apple agency. That was
we are one of one Apple agencies in Alabama.
That's right.
There's not another one.
That's right.
It's, you know, we noticed really quick that our PCs were breaking and they're just better computers physically. So yeah.
Snapchat, Instagram, or X?
X. If there is a law that is passed that everybody has to get off social media, they'll have to pry X out of my cold dead hands.
Wow, that's a good answer. Driver or putter?
It's because It's because everything goes to X first. Like you can find out anything on X before your competition. Like it's
True.
the best. Like when President Trump got shot, I was reading on Twitter and I would read something and then an hour later it would be on the news. And I'm like, I knew that an hour ago. Now there's a lot of BS on there, right? But so on the news, right? But like cutting edge technology, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, sorry, I'm going babbling. Putter
driver or putter?
We're gonna go putter. Drive for show, putt for dough.
All right, Saraland or Mobile? I don't know why it has to be that.
Mobile.
Ribeye or fillet?
A ribeye tastes better, but I usually get a fillet. Ribeye is a better cut of meat, in my opinion. I usually get a fillet because I am calorie conscious.
Okay.
Conscious, yeah.
Caffeine or Diet Coke?
Diet Coke, baby. Fridge cigarette.
Fridge. I've never heard it called that. That's great. The Office or Yellowstone?
The Office. I've never watched Yellowstone. I love Landman though.
Oh, Landman is great. I've
So
never really
good.
been you know what? I only watched like the first season or two of Yellowstone. Didn't finish all of them, but man, I went back and watched 1923 and 1883. Those were actually really good.
So two of my four favorite actors are John Hamm and Billy Bob Thornton, and they're both in the first season of Landman. But I'll tell you a good show.
Yeah.
Have you watched Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV?
No.
It's got John Hamm in it, and he's a hedge fund guy that gets fired, and he wants to keep up appearances. He lives in a rich neighborhood, so he starts stealing from his friends, robbing their houses. And through the process of robbing their houses, he gets all kind of dirt on them.
Oh wow!
It's a really well done show.
A couple more. If Portal had a walk up song, what is it?
Back in Black. That's not what I want to say, but what I actually want to say is not Rough and It's Friendly.
Okay, that's fair enough. What is your AMS?
Momentum.
Okay.
We're a very, very proud Momentum user.
Yes, you are. We just
been
a little shout out.
Been on it since day one.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And we are moving to it. And you were one of the few people that I reached out and said, Bradley, is this really something? Is all this scare out there? You said, Cass, you'll be just fine. So it makes me feel good about that. And I'm just going to ask you this. Maybe it is, but I thought this was a weird one. AI replaces the CSR by what year?
Totally?
Yeah, like it could be 2040, could be 2035.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
Okay.
Do I think we will have less CSRs 10 years from now? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think what your CSR is going to do is they're going to roll into a more of managing the task rather than doing the task.
Mm-hmm. I agree to that. I agree, man. I agree with that 1000%. Here's the last one. And take a second here. What's one thing every agency owner is wasting money on right now? It's one thing that every agency owner is wasting money on right now.
I think too many people, if you'd asked me this a year ago, I would say too many people are buying technology that doesn't actually fully integrate into their workflow. But that's changed with AI. Mm-hmm. We can make systems talk to each other. I think almost every agency has somebody they need to let go that they're scared to.
Oh,
that's a culture killer. And then lastly, in looking at these deals, right, when we do acquisitions, like I said, I've looked at several hundred. Almost every agency I've looked at who was losing money, within about 20 minutes, I can make them profitable looking at their P&L. And it's usually in one of three areas. It's people that are unnecessary. It is technology that's unnecessary, or it's office. And I say that I have a big office, but I always tell people the only reason I have an office is because I want an office. The minute it becomes not financially feasible, I'm out. Like we can,
Mm.
you know what I mean? So I think it's with
Good.
most agencies, it's one of those three areas. But
Good
if I had to
answer.
sum it up, buying stuff that doesn't help.
Well said. The people one of needing to fire people and they don't want to.
Dude.
Gosh, that's tough. I could even say I've seen many times in my life that I've been that way. Oh man.
Well,
Oh, God.
people come to me and say like, "Hey, what's the perfect hiring process?" Right? The perfect hiring process is you have the discipline to fire when it's not working out.
Mm.
And most people subconsciously know they don't have the discipline to fire. Therefore, they put all of this pressure on the hiring process. They have to get it perfect. Well, when you know you have the discipline to cut somebody loose, it opens up your hiring process where you don't actually
Damn.
you give people shots. You
Damn,
know what I
that's
mean?
good, Bradley. Damn, that's good.
And that's
Bradley,
also how you maintain culture.
Bradley,
It's
you need
also
to
how you
make that
maintain
a
culture.
post. Bradley, you need to make that a post. That is very powerful to think about. We put so much pressure on the upfront because we know we lack discipline to fire them. And that makes total sense. If you know you've got the discipline, well, then it's less on hiring because if they don't work out, I'm going to get rid of them. What you need to make a post on that. That's
It's
major right there, Bradley.
there's a lot of things that work that way. So in 2024, I lost 30 pounds and I did not work out one day. It was just the eating. I think so many people are so like habitual about going to the gym because they know they don't have the discipline to like watch what they eat. Whereas
Mm,
if you just watch what you eat, like you don't have to do all, you know what I mean? I think there's so many
wow.
problems in this world and in this industry that it's actually something else that causes the thing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Um,
That's good.
so
That's good. Rough Loads listeners, you know that this was been great. Totally different than what we did, but I think you got way more out of this than you probably have for any other ones. Thank you, Bradley. Thank you for what you do. Thanks for what you do for the industry. Thanks for what you do for your employees. I guarantee you, you're a joy to work with. You're inspirational. You make them think because you do me and you do the industry. Really, you deserve it. Dave hit it out of the park like he always does. He really does. You're one of 200 and I think 40 or 250 some people that have had this opportunity over the course of like 20 some years. So that's really, really awesome.
yeah.
And I know, I know you're a humble guy, but this is one of those situations that maybe you go home and break open the bourbon on a weekday when you normally don't do that. He's a bourbon lover, everybody.
We'll open the pappy.
Yeah. Okay. Bradley, thank you very much for your time, man.
Thanks, brother.
And y'all, for all you Rough Notes listeners, thanks for taking the time to hear us coming off of the paper to the digital stream here at Rough Notes. This is Front Cover. This has been Jason Cass. This is Bradley Flowers. We're out.